Hillary Clinton personally approved the Russia hoax. Is she finally going to pay for what she did, or does she get a pass again?
We had her, and I had her right under the sights, and I told the people, look, you can't do this to a president's wife, an ex-president, and she was Secretary of State. Right. But
politics is the long and short-term game of deception. And the political puppets, the parasites, are never what they present themselves to be. They want you to think they're good, that they're noble, that they're interested in pursuing justice. But when the opportunity arises to where they can pull the trigger on and execute that justice, they don't do it. They'll give you platitudes. They'll say they're going to do certain things, but then we know they're like used car salesmen, that they'll always lie to make that sale. And the sale is they're selling themselves to an unwitting and desensitized, mass psychosis propagandized public. And it's always the case that when they have that genuine opportunity to do something to substantively, say, put another fellow politician behind bars, they don't do it because they do back off and they fade behind the wall of silence. And here's an excellent example of that in this interview with Donald Trump.
These new emails, Mr. President, suggest essentially that Hillary Clinton personally approved the Russia hoax.
with Obama.
With Barack Obama. And my question is she finally going to pay for what she did, or does she get a pass again?
So, we had her, and I had her right under the sights, and I told the people, look, you can't do this to a president's wife, an ex-president, and she was Secretary of State. Right. But
why not? What's he saying? Well, they're off limits. They're beyond the pale of justice. You can't do that to them. I mean, like, what would the world think if we took a former First Lady and current Secretary of State and put her behind bars for crimes? We can't have that in America. What?
You can't do this to the wife of a president. And
do you still feel that way?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel about it in a second. If you remember, I was at a rally, and it was after the election, and they said, lock her up, and I said, no, look, we won, just relax. And I didn't do what other people would have done, what they would have done. And then they went.
I didn't do what other people would have done, what they would have done.
Nobody does that. Nobody, when they attain a position of power like the President of the United States, pulls the trigger on and executes any kind of justice on any, for example, war criminal. Not on a Bush, not on an Obama, not on a Clinton. It's not going to happen on a Donald Trump. And they are all war criminals. They're sitting soundly in the back pocket of defense contractors in the Pentagon and the military-industrial complex. Obama dropped 39. If you look at the war power summary, Obama dropped an average of 39 bombs every day of his presidency. Donald Trump dropped 46 bombs every day of his presidency. They are warmongers. They destroy people's lives. They end people's lives. They're not going to put their fellow puppet politicians behind bars because the banksters control them, and they control the script, and they control what you will do with that power when you sit behind the desk at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged, and nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care.
That's why he didn't put Hillary Clinton in jail. Not because he's this nice guy, not because he's a noble citizen.
After me, and they meant it. I said, it's amazing. I always felt that you shouldn't be doing this stuff, and I let Hillary off the hook. I totally left her off the hook.
Guess who else he left off the hook? Oh, he left John and Tony Podesta off the hook, and he also let Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx off the hook, and he let Henry Kissinger off the hook, and he let warmongers Mike Pompeo and John Bolton off the hook.
When I was a cadet, what's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
All these people he left off the hook. Again, Not because he's righteous, not because he's noble, not because he's good, not because he's kind and compassionate. It's because they belong to the same club and they all wear the same rings, figuratively speaking.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
And when it's a big club, membership has its privileges. And one of those privileges is that when one of you gets elevated, selected to a position of power, they're not going to call you to account for anything.
And then I let her off the hook for what? And then I come in and they did the same thing to me. The difference is they actually meant it.
They didn't do anything to him. Nothing happened to him. It's all patty cake, baker's man. That's all it is. Nothing substantive ever. Name one politician, Republican or Democrat, that called him out for being a warmonger. Because they would have rightly called him out for being a warmonger. Name one politician who was concerned when he enacted red flag gun confiscation laws from the White House in 2017. Name one politician who imprisoned him for criminalizing hundreds of thousands of Americans who had a piece of plastic called a bump stock. Name one American politician who came out against him for being in the back pocket of the military-industrial complex and giving them an increase so that they could waste even more money. Name one. Now, there isn't one, because they don't call these con artists out for real crimes because they themselves are busy committing those crimes or being accomplices in the commission of those crimes.
And they hurt a lot of people. And it was all a hoax. And now they have it in black and white. No, I think they should pay a price.
How directly?
By the way, it's a very big price. It could be the biggest scandal in the history of our country, but it continues onward.
It could be the biggest scandal in the history of our country, but it continues onward.
Convid 1984 by George Orwell was one of the biggest scandals, not only in the United States, but also in the world. It was a transfer of wealth. It was a transfer of power. All the billionaires got richer while you and I got poorer. Jobs were lost. Businesses closed. $6.2 trillion was transferred from American wealth to the big pharma industrial complex, to corporate elitists, to billionaires who fund both sides of the political spectrum, which it's not a two-party system, it's a uniparty system. It's two wings of the same bird of prey, and that dastardly vulture is constantly circling around looking for another poor sucker to attack and feed off of. This is one of them. Hillary Clinton's another. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Obama, the Bushes, they're all in the same club. And guess what, guys? You and I aren't in it.
You and I are not in the big club.
And as far as war is a racket, according to Major General Smedley Butler. And no matter how paranoid or conspiracy-minded you might be, what the government is doing and what these political parasites are involved in is far worse, it's far evil, it's far more heinous than you and I can possibly imagine. And the reason we can't imagine it is because we are not psychopaths like they are. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.